This Gospel falls well on the feast of St. Januarius. We have here a lamp which is not allowed to be hidden. This saint and his companions could have been forgotten in the mists of history, but the Lord has willed that they should be remembered in quite a spectacular way. This Bishop of Benevento was martyred along with 6 companions, and he is already venerated in early times, as we see from this mention in the biography of the early saint, St. Paulinus of Nola. Now, of course, Paulinus was from the southern part of Italy. It's not too far from where we have this saint venerated. We have this testimony coming through from this early time. Describing the death of St. Paulinus, the author says, Paulinus began to ask in a clear voice where his brethren were. One of the priests, thinking that he was referring to his brother bishops who were just celebrated, and that's a reference to the hidden mass which they had before he died, who had celebrated the Eucharist therefore with him in his bedroom, responded, "Your brethren are all here with you." But he answered, "I am speaking of Januarius and Martin." That was reference to the great Martin of Tours. "My brothers in the episcopate, who a little while ago were speaking to me and promising me that soon I would join them." He is popularly referred to as San Gennaro, and there is a great buzz in Naples on this day. The pious go all morning to the cult, the whole ceremony, the whole morning of prayer in the cathedral itself. Those who are less pious just come for the miracle. The Archbishop, the Cardinal himself, trembles with emotion as the time approaches for the miracle, and people cry out in their own simple way, "San Gennaro, fammi la grazia." St. Januarius, make me the grace, give me the grace that they're asking for. And there is a huge amount of prayer going on in the cathedral on this day. Intense. And so they wait. This is the main one, but it happens at other times as well. The first Sunday of May, and also December the 16th. It also happens sometimes in the octave of this feast, the 19th. But the others come and go, they don't always happen. This one nearly always happens, and if it doesn't, it's a big drama for the whole area, for in the past it has been associated with impending disaster. We remember, of course, that Naples is close to Vesuvius. When the Holy Father, Pope Francis, went there towards the beginning of his pontificate, it did liquefy in his hand, but only half. That was interesting. The link with the early church is a reminder of what our brethren went through in that last terrible persecution. The date of his martyrdom is 305, and there is not much space between that date and what happened in 312. We have what is recorded actually in the frescoes of the baptistry of the Lateran. The baptistry is very old, and there we have what has just happened. The cross appearing. In this you will conquer. And it was put on the labarum, and they conquered against all military odds at the Milvian Bridge, giving Constantine access to the Eternal City. And it's 1 year later that we have the Edict of Milan, 313, which brings peace to Christians. So, in a short time, Providence intervenes and turns things completely in a different direction. But our brethren are legion. Many lost their lives. Indeed, one legion, an entire one, was massacred because they were becoming Christians. They were put to labour to build an aqueduct or something there in Italy, not too far from Rome, and then they were put to death. The whole legion, that's a very interesting one which is often forgotten about. Now, it's not only the blood of St. Januarius which does this. When I was in Italy, we had friends from Naples, and we also had nuns close to us, and they would come to us on a monthly basis for their monthly retreat. And with this link, we had a link also with an early martyr, for they had the major relic of St. Patricia, an early Christian virgin who was martyred in persecution also. And her blood on her feast day also would liquefy. Liquefying it was more discreet because only a few really knew about it, but it was happening each year, and in their mother house was that relic. So I was invited one year to go down to be present when it happened, and friends of ours in the area were going to put me up. And then at the last minute a message came from the Archbishop of Siena that he wanted to see us on that day, so that put an end to that little pilgrimage. Would have been interesting, but anyway, it still goes on, of course. But they are a reminder that many things go on, and our faith is full of things going on, because we are in touch with the supernatural all the time, and we get used to it. We are handling a miracle each day at the altar, transubstantiation, and just the other day, it's only about a week ago, less I think, it was Tuesday that we had this miracle in Paraguay. It was just before the Feast of the Holy Cross, and there the priest was called to give Holy Communion to an invalid, a person at home, and put it in. Now, he seems to have put it in a reliquary, and there he got to the person on his sick bed who was about to give him Holy Communion, and it had transformed itself not into just a bleeding host, but completely into flesh and blood, and it has rather the form of a heart. But it's quite spectacular. It's just happened. And in Ireland too, a few months ago, we had one not far from Knock. One host there, placed in water, I believe, began to become flesh and blood. The details I do not know, but I know there was a miracle and it's been venerated there. But these relics are all over the place, and they go back, of course, to the Acts of the Apostles, when napkins were taken from St. Peter, and where they went, healing would take place. At home, we had the Welsh Mass every month at Gelliladan, and afterwards the Word of Life of the Focolare movement. And there we had a major relic of our local martyr, St. John Roberts, who was taken at the altar at the last Gospel and hanged, drawn and quartered in 1610 at Tyburn, Benedictine. And his miracles were known to us. He would be invoked and his relic was powerful. When the new bishop came a few years ago, he wanted these major relics put together in the Curia in Wrexham, and so off it went. But it's interesting that when it got there, it began to disintegrate. These saints are closer to us than we think. And actually, after the Welsh Mass, we would always sing a hymn to St. John Roberts in Welsh and English. One verse in Welsh and one in English. So obviously he was pleased with that honour, and not particularly amused when he was taken away from his home country. Interesting. And it's interesting too to know that they somehow feel what we do to them, even in their relics. For all over the Christian world we know that places of burial of saints and relics have been associated with miracles. One thinks, for instance, of the great Siabel Maclwf and how many miracles happened there. Indeed, in recent times, another spectacular one has happened when he's been caught again on film. That's gone round social media. So these are saints which do not age with time. This is the family that we're inserted in, and it's very different actually from just Christians praying together, as we have in other parts of Wales, very Protestant. It's quaint. And also we noticed in specifically that area of very Protestant Wales, where we had the Welsh Mass for a long time, Gelliladan, that there was a concentration of the interventions of the Most High which were very interesting. I've heard many stories of things that happened in that small Catholic church which they put together out of their poor pennies. Many things happened over the years. It was interesting to see how heaven was blessing them for holding faith to the full faithful light which they had from Ireland, because it came through Irish people coming to work there at the power station of Trasfynydd. Then it got involved with the Welsh culture as well through intermarriage. But God was clearly blessing it. It's not just enough for Christians to pray together. If they do, they should listen. Is the Lord wanting more? There is a goodwill all over the Christian world amongst Christians who love Jesus, but very few, it seems, ask, even in prayer, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do with regard to the church I belong to? If there is a fullness, that light we need, and we can't be satisfied with a half light. If we are, we have to ask ourselves, am I genuinely of good faith? Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae.